How is coffee decaffeinated? And why does it still taste like regret? Last night I made myself a cup of instant coffee and realized halfway through it was decaf. And I felt betrayed. Not because I needed the caffeine, I was already wide awake, but because I just didn't know what I was drinking. What even is decaf? How do you take the caffeine out of coffee in the first place? And does it still count as coffee? Turns out, decaffeinating coffee is a weird little science that's been around since the early 1900s, and it's more complicated than just rinsing the beans and hoping for the best. The caffeine has to be extracted from the bean before it's roasted. Once it's roasted, it's locked in. And caffeine doesn't just sit on the surface, it's embedded in the bean's structure. So the process needs to reach deep inside without totally ruining the flavor. There are a few ways to do this. One of the oldest is the solvent method, where unroasted beans are steamed and then rinsed with a chemical like methylene chloride or ethyl acetate. These solvents bond with the caffeine and pull it out. Then the beans are rinsed again and dried. Most of the time, the solvents are used in such small amounts that they don't stick around in the final product. But the idea of using industrial chemicals on your morning cup is enough to weird some people out. Then there's the Swiss water process. This one is all about osmosis. You soak green coffee beans in hot water to dissolve the caffeine and other soluble compounds. Then you filter out the caffeine using activated carbon, but keep all the flavor compounds in a special solution called green coffee extract. After that, you take fresh beans and soak them in this extract, which is already saturated with flavor compounds. So only the caffeine gets pulled out, leaving most of the taste behind. It's chemical free, but a bit more expensive. Another method is CO2 decaffeination, where the beans are soaked and then heat with pressurized carbon dioxide, which acts like a solvent but without the sketchy chemicals. These ones mostly used for commercial scale decaf, especially with instant coffee production. Speaking of which, instant decaf starts the same way. They decaffeinate the green beans using one of those methods, then roast them, brew a massive amount of coffee, and freeze or spray dry it into powder or granules. So when you dissolve it in water, it's basically rehydrated brewed coffee, but with most of the caffeine stripped out before the whole process began. Now, even after all this, decaf still isn't totally caffeine free. By law, in most places, it just has to have about 97% of the caffeine removed. So if a regular cup has around 100 milligrams of caffeine, a decaf cup still has 2 to 5 milligrams, sometimes more. Enough to notice if you are sensitive. And yeah, the taste is different. Some of the flavor compounds get pulled out along with the caffeine, especially in solvent-based methods. That is why decaf sometimes has that weird, flat, woody taste. But newer techniques, especially Swiss water and CO2, do a much better job at preserving the real coffee flavor. So the next time someone offers you decaf, know that it's not fake coffee. It's just coffee that's been very thoroughly messed with. Gently soaked, steamed, pressed, filtered, sometimes chemically bathed, and then roasted into something that mostly still tastes like the real thing. Got a weird midnight question keeping you up? Drop it in the comments and maybe it will be featured in a future episode. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep wondering. I am Mari and this has been Midnight Question.